Yo, what up, guys? This is Donald, aka Dbot, aka Draga Beats, here with another episode of There's This Podcast, a random podcast about random things. We talk about everything and anything, and we drop it at random times, at random dates. We have no structure in that regard, but that's the point of it. This is just something fun. It's a fun feed for me, so I'm not looking for sponsors or anything like that, or pitch it to a network, but I'm back right now. I wanted to share with you guys a portion of a bigger interview from another podcast called Free Thinkers Anonymous, which is hosted by my good friend Mike. And we had our mutual friend Billy on, and we wanted to just kind of talk about growing up in LA and just career trajectories, life trajectories. And there's this portion that we thought would work best in this feed, which was that where we talk about Billy's, career in music. He shares some insight of just his journey in music and where he's at now, everything that he did before, and tells us a little bit about his current project that he just released. So go check it out on all streaming platforms after the podcast, of course. Check out his album. It's called Street Serenade, produced by The Div. And he talks about his process, everything that he did, writing, mixing, mastering, all that. He even did the artwork. Like, not really did it, but I mean, he doesn't claim he did it, but I think he did it because you put a prompt and it generated an image. So that's where we're in, which I think is cool to see generative AI being used in the creative space in this regard, for independent musicians who are looking to get a lot of this done for them in terms of like the rollout of an album. So I thought it was cool. So I thought I'd share this conversation with you guys. So not going to hold it up too much, but here is my conversation with my friend Billy about his life in hip hop. Enjoy. There's this side of you that is really big on, academics and family and, being able to help out. Because I noticed that like the kind of work that you like to do tends to always be like something where you're helping somebody out through something that they're going through, whether it's mental health or anything emotional. But then I also feel like there's this other side of you that recently came out this week, which was you put out an album.
Yes.
So I wanted to touch on a little bit on, Billy as rapper, like what made you go back to it? Because I know you were on hiatus for a long time. That's how we reconnected, was after high school. You were starting to write raps and everything, and then I know life happened, got married, family, trying to find a job. It felt like in the middle of that, you kind of just like stepped out, and then I think during the pandemic, it felt like you fell back into it. So like, take me through that journey. Like, what was that? Like, what made you want to go back to it, or all that?
Man, okay. So so the reason I came back from hiatus is everything you just touched, right? Trying to find myself, trying to build a family, right? And then the pandemic. And before the pandemic, 5 years ago, I lost my mom. And I think taking a trip back to Puerto Rico and building a bridge with my father was just a kickoff of like, okay, get back into music, man. Like I decided to study all reggaeton to hip hop, all in Spanish, right? Study that music for a bit. And lucky enough that I had two great examples of songs that I recorded back in 2014, which was District 1 and Derail. And I followed the same format. And I would rap those lyrics to myself over and over and over again. But I said, you know what? It's crunch time. And, one of our peers decided to release a solo album that we've been waiting for since '07 for him to release his solo album. And that was the kickoff right there. And I think having that Instagram live that he let me showcase my talent, that was just pretty much the kickoff. And then like 2 weeks later, I decided to do a three verse freestyle, right? Three different verses of freestyle, recorded myself and launched it, right? To the point that I had to build another alter ego that would do the Spanish part.
Yeah.
So recently, this week I dropped a Street Serenade, a 7-track album produced by the Div, an East LA producer.
Nice.
I don't know how. Yeah, man, shout out to the Div. So I did everything like the way you taught me, Donald. Like, go to BeatStar, purchase the thing, and make the contract, and then upload these songs, record these songs, and upload them. So Street Serenade, what covers this is everything based on love, and honestly, like this one was to make up for lost time.
Yeah,
I wanted to give that studio pad vibe, like. I even told Hector, like, hey, you know what? I sampled one of your bars from one of your songs. My mind paints a picture, because I made a song called "Picture That I See," and I actually sampled him by reciting his bar in that verse. And then the rest was like family, the love that I have for my family, the love that I have for LA, how love is played around, basically where people are very flirtatious but don't have anything love behind it, to having like this bundle of love. And, to answer your question, like getting back into music was really of a passion. This is like my second act. And I don't think like all my college years, and I will defend my first project in '07, Shattered Glass. Everything after that was a lot of growing experience, right? From recording in Sony Acid, to learning how to mix the track on Sony Acid, to like having a Radio Shack microphone. So like you coming in and be like, no, you know what? You need an interface. You need this kind of mic. You need these kind of headphones. And every year, giving me those beats of information, to now like having the right proper software. Like, okay, like I can do this. And then you helping me out by sending me a 30-minute video on how to mix on Pro Tools, like that was a lot of helpful, because my last 2 projects, I would send it either to you, and then if you were busy with your schedule, I had to go find another engineer.
Yeah.
And thanks to Mike's experience, that he says, hey man, go check, this website out. Like, you might find freelancers of engineers. And I checked out that website and got myself a second engineer while you were busy with your work, because I can't interrupt your bread and butter, and all your success. So it's like, nope, okay, I gotta find a plan B and I'll figure this out. Yeah. And then to you, like, be like, yo, I know you invested a lot of time in this, and let me teach you, so you don't have to be dependent on anybody else, or you can invest on the instrumentals and be done. But so Bundle of Love is a lot. It's a lot about family love and dedication. And I was telling Peter through text, I wanted to make up for lost times, and I want to give a lot of recognitions for those that I collaborated with in the last year. And it's all home base, like the Inner Aspects crew, to homie Genetics up north, and like you and Hector, like for inspiring me for doing this music. And there's a little bit of bits and pieces of that I put in the canvas on this art, like, and dedicated to you guys, so I wanted to make it more home based. So I'm an MC, I'm a father, and then I do all this and that. But like, the one thing that I'll never do is show my MC side to people at work. I did it this last year, and this peer of mine from work, like she does like some sort of like R&B type music, right? It's R&B pop basically, and we are both creative sides collided heads, and we decided to like, hey, I respect you professionally here, and let's just keep it as that. And let's not let our creative arts ever crash again. And that was a hard lesson that we both had to learn, and we had to put up with that boundary and stuff like that. And we kept it pushing. But other than that, though, I really have to dedicate time to family, write these lyrics. So sometimes, like when they're not around, open the computer and start writing lyrics to the beat that I like. Boom. And get that process going.
Yeah. So this project, you wrote it, you recorded it, you mixed it, you mastered it. and
Mhm.
then I think you put you created the artwork for it.
Only the back cover, the front cover.
Yeah.
That was the credit to you, right? Because you taught me how to use, how to generate
Mhm.
generate a software in a picture, right?
Yeah.
The artificial
So you
intelligence,
use
boom.
generative AI to.
Yeah, generative AI. So the back cover, I did that part.
Yeah.
The front cover, I gotta thank you for helping me pick that out, like how
Yeah.
to do it. I was like, perfect. Let's put this one out because it
Yeah.
had that vibe with the Street Serenade,
Yeah.
and to go with the yeah, it's just the regular high school kid listening to underground hip hop on the way to school or away from school, away
Yeah.
home from school, or on
Yeah.
the way to the gym, whatever. So I
Yeah.
wanted to give it that vibe.
And you added like the Dodger hat for the
Yeah,
to
definitely.
rep, right? Because
Yeah,
like
exactly. Right.
LA never leaves you.
LA never leaves me, and it's a lot of LA based. The beats, the producers from East LA, so it's like
Yeah.
I had to take advantage of all that LA based. So it's
Yeah.
like all my music will be LA based, and the only thing you'll never hear from saying like hear me say like, oh, I'm at the block or I go hit up the homies. You don't hear me say none of that, and
Yeah.
I could say neighborhood stories and actual facts because of facts that I gathered
Hmm.
and the news I've seen, or I
Hmm.
just want to project what the news can't tell you. I can
Yeah.
project it through the music, and then I'll be like, like your local news stand, or like
Yeah.
the podcast guy, or whatever, just
Yeah.
through music, right?
Yeah. Because I remember you showed me a song. I don't know. I don't think it's on this project. I'm not too. I might be wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
right now I can't remember off the top of my head. But I remember you did a song where you kind of give some critical. You gave some criticism towards the board of like the educational kind of
Oh,
system, and
yeah,
because of just like little politics that you've encountered.
yeah. En Camino was not part of this project. It was a single off
Yeah.
the project, so I kind of reunited like two of my alter egos to put
Yeah.
that out. So I was that song. I was part. My job told me to cover back to school nights to one of the contracted school districts that we're partnered with.
Yeah.
I said for sure, hit me up over there because I think I have network and I have built bridges with one of the schooling coordinators out there, and then I would like to help her out, and she's a very nice person. Let's go. And one of the events, I didn't felt right. So I was like,
Hmm.
man, what can I do? What can I do? That's something about this back to school night I'm not feeling right about.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and I was like thinking, like, what's going on here that I haven't pinpointed. So that's where the whole story started about the
Okay.
school districts, right? Later on, I was looking stuff online, making my own research, and I see that there's not a lot of critical thinking applied nowadays for kids to think on their own. So,
Yeah.
like, it's like you have to be the informational bucket, spewed it out. And they
Yeah.
said that with all the learning lessons that you learn from a classroom, from a teacher,
Yeah.
that's knowledge. No, knowledge, it comes from experience. Okay? You
Yeah.
teach from yourself. So you let life experience be your teacher, and
Yeah.
that's how you gain knowledge, right? To be like that.
Hmm.
So then the second verse was about in Puerto Rico, right? The governor, was was in front and addressed the public, like, because there was a teacher that died because he had three jobs, and he died in a car accident where uh, a 16-wheeler ran him over, teed him off.
Oh wow.
And he had three jobs because he would teach out of school in the morning, and then he had two other jobs that I don't recall from the top of my head. But he was on his way to go home, change clothes, and then go back to his first job,
Hmm.
right? But he didn't make it home that night.
Yeah.
And the governor said, like, oh, the governor from Puerto Rico said, nobody's uh, nobody's obligated to have 2 to 3 jobs or to be a teacher. You could quit whenever you want. So I picked
Yeah.
that piece. Then I
Hmm.
pick another piece about the kids in September. They were in Carolina. In Carolina, the kids came out of their classroom to protest because the classroom conditions are not kept up to par
Hmm.
like they do here in the state.
Yeah.
So it's all run down. Like there was no air conditioning, the windows could barely open.
Mm-hmm.
The fan is there, but you don't know when the electricity will go off, this and that. And the kids decided to protest and to be
Mm-hmm.
heard. To now recently, like they make TikTok videos of how their playgrounds is a little run down and they don't have soap in the bathroom or they don't have a
Mm-hmm.
bathroom stall to open and whatnot. So there's
Mm-hmm.
some schools in PR that don't go through that. So that's why I wanted to cover a lot in the education system because it's not felt right to even now having my own experience,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like recently, I've been getting all these referrals from one of the school, and I was talking to a soon-to-be psychologist, and I don't think not even the administrative are dedicating time to these kids
Mm-hmm.
when they're when they could give them additional support for behavior,
Mm-hmm.
and they let their administrative staff like let's get them counseling, let's get them individual rehab or therapy, let someone else handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we realized right now, so it's like, all right, let's
Yeah.
get them the support, but like I don't know what they're learning from school, right? Or I
Yeah.
don't know what support they get additional from school.
Yeah, right now that you're saying that, it reminded me
Mm-hmm.
of I think this was the last time Mike and I re-recorded an
Mm-hmm.
episode. We talked about the mental health, like Prop One,
Yep.
having to take money from the mental health stuff. And I think that's something that I know Mike had brought up about how like the government somehow isn't really doing enough, even though they say they are, about like finding solutions for all these things. Um, and I wonder like how much is like the education system complicit in this, and how much like all these institutions are complicit in it, because it feels like um, it trickles over a lot of other things, like. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it just sucks because these are people's livelihoods, and it just sucks to think that like, in Puerto Rico, like something basic like having a nice bathroom is such a
Mm-hmm.
struggle, or you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Those are And the bathroom is something that we all need, like, because
Mm-hmm.
people have to do their stuff, and it's a human thing. And I think like it's just interesting to see from your perspective, like how it's just like it feels like the problems are still the same, and it's like regardless of what you're experiencing, like it feels like it just doesn't. I don't know what the solution really is, but it feels like a lot of government entities are not doing enough to solve it, and it feels like institutions themselves, private institutions and public, are also kind of not doing enough. At least that's what it feels like. Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Thank you so much for checking it out. If you enjoyed it, please give me 5 stars on Spotify, rate and review on Apple Podcasts as well. Follow me on Apple Podcasts if you like it, Spotify, all the platforms. Really appreciate it. If you really think this touched you, or you think it's gonna touch somebody who's also doing something like this, of living life while also trying to do music, feel free to share it with a friend, share it with that person. And until next time, guys, we'll see what comes down the pipeline for the show, and stay tuned. Later.